Greetings everyone, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm your host, Captain Ryan. Today's YouTube video has got me and the Tier 10 French battleship, the Henri IV. Wait, that's not right. The Tier 10 French cruiser, Henri IV. That's more technically correct, but still not quite right. I think I'm going to call this a battle cruiser. Partly because of the size of the caliber of the main guns. For those of you who don't know, this is really arguably the first time I'm officially taking the French cruiser line out. Didn't really want to play it in any aspect or respect until here just recently. Now, I did free XP my way up to this ship, but I did actually play the French cruiser line on the EU server, at least part way. So, don't judge me. Now, as to the reasons why I call this ship a battle cruiser as opposed to a cruiser or a battleship. First, the caliber of the guns. The guns are 240 millimeter. That's 9.5 inches for those of us on the Imperial system. That gives this cruiser the largest guns of any non-premium cruiser in the game, and the largest guns of any Tier 10 cruiser in the game. In fact, its guns are so large that its armor piercing will overmatch at any angle on the Minotaur. So if you find yourself in a British cruiser and you find yourself going head-to-head against the Henri, yeah, you might have the reload, but if you're both bow on, Henry's armor piercing is going to penetrate you. And if you give more than 10% of your broadside, he's not only going to penetrate you, he's going to citadel you, and it's going to hurt. Equally important, because of the size of the guns, the high explosive shells here, with the Demolition Expert Captain skill, and with the flag earned from achieving a Witherer, or received in a loot crate, you have a 25% chance for fire. That's insane. I've had battles in this ship where I've landed shots that have effectively set multiple fires, watched battleships repair them, and then 30 seconds later, or 3 shots later, I'm setting them on fire again in multiple places. Of course, this ship is a cruiser, so it doesn't have battleship armor, but it does have pretty good armor, and that armor is thick enough to bounce shots from battleships, so long as you're angled reasonably well, and I think so long as you're not either too far away where that's going to be plunging fire, or too close where it's just going to go straight into your superstructure. The guns on this ship with the gun modification module will also reach a maximum range of just over 22 kilometers. Yes, that's right, a 22 kilometer gun range. That's a battleship ranging right there. And as you can see here, I'm just sitting back behind an island, using that island as additional armor against these battleships. And here comes shots in here at me. But I'm using that island as cover here, and it's actually proving to be quite useful, as many ships that try to shoot at me are going to have a little bit of a difficult time. Of course, I can reach out and touch them with cruiser level accuracy, and they're not going to get the same quality. So you're probably thinking, wow, this ship is kind of OP, but it gets even better. This ship can fit the premium module that improves the speed boost consumable. It is a French cruiser, it gets the speed boost consumable. You can fit that module, and if you fit that module to the ship, you can activate your speed boost consumable and effectively have that run for 4.5 minutes. Yes, that's right, a 4.5 minute speed boost consumable. When you compare that to a destroyer, which is maybe half that time, or a little bit less than half that time. And this ship is not any sort of slouch when it comes to that speed. With this active, with the Sierra Mike flags, those are the speed flags earned for double strike. Again, you can also get those in the flag loot crates, which is one of the reasons I always recommend that. this ship will get 43.9 knots, or 44 knots effectively, in a straight line. So you can pretty much chase down any destroyer in the game, with the exception of the Shimakaze and the Khabarovsk. And I see those two as an exception. The Shimakaze will go 44.1 knots, and of course the Khabarovsk will get up there closer to 46 or 47 knots. But of course their speed boosts are significantly less duration, so they might outrun you for just that little bit. You're certainly going to keep up with them, but then they're going to run out and drop back down, and you're going to still maintain that high speed. Now as the battle gets underway, it's Tears of the Desert. It's domination match mode. My team has 2 of the caps here, and we are up on points because we've managed to take out one of their destroyers, so that's going to give us a nice fat destroyer advantage. I've already taken some hits from some battleships there. Of course, I got citadeled there by at least one of them, but hey, I got that heal back up. Still pretty full health there, and of course, as you can see there, how fast I'm able to move with that speed boost. And you can see how long that speed boost is still going to be active for. Putting the high explosive down for the most part downrange, just setting battleships on fire, and you can see my damage total just continuing to tick up there as I add that fire damage. I've done 72,000 damage so far, and most of that is actually in fire damage. Now the enemy team does manage to kill one of our destroyers, so they equal out the destroyers again, but it's okay because my team has 2 of the caps, so we're still going to be up on points here as the battle continues, but we do have to be careful that they don't turn around and start pushing heavily. However, it looks like, based on the minimap and where everybody's going, they're for the most part dropping back to their spawn and trying to regroup up at the C cap point. Now I'm going to get turned back around here. As you can see here, we have some enemy ships that are going to push up here. We have a destroyer very, very low health. He's basically making a YOLO suicide run against one of the battleships up there, and I don't think it's going to work out for him. So I'm going to head back down here and see what kind of problems I can cause, because I know those torpedoes are going to hit. Oh, and surprisingly enough, they do hit. Unfortunately, the secondaries from that battleship take out that destroyer, so he didn't survive the engagement. But hey, destroyer's worth less points than that cruiser or that battleship there, so we're actually going to continue to be up on points here. But we lose yet another destroyer, and now I do believe we are completely equal on the destroyer front there at 2 destroyers for 2 destroyers. I have already managed to earn a Witherer causing over 93,000 damage, so I've basically only managed to cause about 30,000 damage from the actual high explosives itself, and everything else has been in fires. That's awesome. And of course here, I'm just landing even more hits down here. Again, using this island for cover, there's nothing that's able to spot me because there's nothing that's back over behind that island, so I'm using these islands very effectively as nice cover and concealment. And because of the range, I can fire over these islands nicely and just put those shots down there, trying to set more fires. And, you know, if I could absolutely set more fires, it would be wonderful. Because this is the 240 millimeter high explosive, it does tend to penetrate the superstructures on these battleships a lot more effectively. You're going to see me get a lot fewer shatters by comparison to the 8-inch guns that you see on most other cruisers. See there, look at that, look at all of those penetrations. Now the high explosive is really, really good, of course, but the armor piercing, as I mentioned previously, is really, really good as well. Not only does it deal with ships like the Minotaur very effectively, because the Minotaur's armor is so thin by comparison that you'll overmatch at pretty much any angle, but it's also pretty good and pretty reasonable against battleships. In fact, I do recall one such battle where I had the armor piercing swapped over and had a broadside Bismarck to shoot at. Yes, that's right, a Bismarck with its turtleback armor, and I still managed to put 2 full broadsides into him, doing a respective 14,000 and 12,000 damage each. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to finish him off, and I regret not finishing him off because we ended up going on to lose that battle, in spite of doing something like 180,000 damage. Now, the team's situations, things are still pretty equal here as far as ships go. But my team is very, very much so up on points, but this could change at any moment because, as you can see here, there's a group of ships working together. They're clustered up and they're back down over here by the B cap point, and they are picking on and starting to cause some significant problems for our friendly battleship up here. Now, our friendly battleship is moving forward there. I think he's just inside my torpedo range. But because he's continuing to move forward, I am going to get those torpedoes away. Might as well. I switch over to the armor piercing to see what kind of damage I can do to the broadsides of these battleships. But of course, you can see that armor piercing on the side of the Yamato does shatter there, and it doesn't quite penetrate. So I switch over to the Montana, hoping for a little bit better there. No, see, more shatters there. I'm thinking probably best to switch back over to the high explosive. Now, our battleship got taken out there, and that's going to leave me effectively broadside on to deal with these two battleships. And can I secure the kill on that Montana at the very least? Finish him off. Come on, get him. He's almost dead. Yes, finish him off. That's going to be my first kill in the game after having done 148,000 damage here. Get behind the island so I'm no longer being shot at by the secondaries of the Yamato, which was really putting some kind of hurt on me there. Enemy CV coming along here. He wants to land some hits on me. He does manage to knock out one of my torpedo tubes. It's a little disappointing there. But he's dropping these torpedoes here. Doesn't set me on fire. Very fortunate for me. That's good RNG there. But the torpedo planes, you'll notice he came in. He basically dropped them on the rocks here. And that's when I come around here, and there's the Mogami. Now, I could switch over to armor piercing here and pretty much wreck him outright because he was basically broadside on, and given the armor on the Mogami, I'd probably be able to do it. Now, here's enemy gearing has popped up there. He's full strength, and I've got torpedoes in front of me, and those are from the Shimakaze, who was briefly spotted there. So I'm going to go ahead and back up. Come on, get there. Speed boost consumable is active, so I'm able to change directions actually quite quickly, and I managed to torpedo beats that. Of course, the Geary drops his load through that gap there. I think he was expecting me to maybe go forward. So managed to avoid that. But hey, that Shimakaze, he only dropped one set, so he's got at least 2 more sets here. And I'm going to go ahead and get turned around, and there come the second set and the third set behind that. And he's laying a smokescreen now, and he's also got that Mogami back in there who's going to go ahead and cause me problems as well by shooting at me. And this could be particularly bad, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get turned away. If there's one major fault or failing of the ship that I can honestly say, it's actually the turning radius of the ship. With the module, you can get the rudder shift time down, so you can be a little bit more maneuverable, but the turning circle of the ship is still pretty wide, so it's going to take you a while to actually make those turns. Now, I'm broadside onto this battleship here, but he seems otherwise preoccupied, so he's not particularly shooting at me. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to try to set on fire. Managed to dodge those torpedoes there, which is always excellent. As you can see, that Mogami continuing to put rounds down range onto me. He's trying to set me on fire, which would be okay because I do have my damage control, so if he does set me on fire, I don't have to worry about it too much. I'm going to get my ass turned around here, and that's when the Yamato decides he's going to go ahead and take shots at me, which could have ended very, very badly for me there as I turned slightly broadside, but it looks like most of his shots ended up over-penetrating and not causing that much damage. Now, that Amagi is shooting at me, and this again could be a problem for me. I've got the speed boost up there, and you can see because I have the speed boost active, a lot of battleship players really do not know how to deal with that extra speed, so they don't give enough lead. Finishing off the game with a Witherer and 174,730 damage done. Only 2 kills, a couple of secondary hits, a couple of aircraft shot down, but I have to say that this was just the second or third battle that I had the Henry that I took it out in, and I was very, very pleased by the result and the amount of damage. In fact, with this ship, within the first 10 battles, I managed to earn 5 more Witherer medals as a result of it. Top of the team for XP earned, not a overly impressive amount, not what you would expect from me, but still a very, very respectable 1600 base XP in this battle. Anyway, that's it for today's video, folks. If you liked the video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. If you'd like to get semi-regular channel news and updates, you can do so by liking and following me on Facebook. You can also find my live streaming schedule for the week posted there. If you'd like to help support me and the channel, as well as gain some early access to replays like this one, among other perks, you can become my supporter on Patreon. Any support level helps me greatly. If you've got a replay like this one that you'd like to see featured on my channel, you can do so by sending it to my email. And as mentioned previously, if you'd like to watch me play World of Warships among other games live, you can do so by following me on Twitch. You can find the links for all of those in the video description down below. And as always, I'll see you next time. This is Captain Rye, signing off.